Kids are human too. And it's within our example how we're reacting, interacting, and acting ourselves that our children are raised in that environment to then, respond, react, and interact themselves as they're growing up. Hey mama, welcome to Naturally Empowered Living, your safe space to guiding you on your unapologetic self-awakening journey to learning your energy of alignment and feeling good again. This is your weekly sanctuary to wake up from autopilot and transform the way you approach motherhood and life through the power of meditation, energetics, and root cause therapy. It's my mission to help you embody the foundations of self-love, trust, and inner connection to be unapologetic in the evolution of who you are. Here, we honor all parts of ourselves, the messy and the magic, the shadows and the light. If you are ready to get to the roots of cultivating real change, warm up that cold coffee, pop in your earbuds, and tighten that top knot, mama. Let's discover our power within together. What is up? Oh my gosh, it's been so long for me. I don't think I've recorded an episode in almost like a month. So we're back here with another solo episode. You obviously don't know a difference because a new episode airs every Monday, but I wanted to share that because my energy is just so, my like heart is racing. I'm just so excited to be back for another episode. And also our first written in review, or not written in review, the first write-in for the show. Someone filled out that form to have an episode catered to them for what they need. And this form that I'm talking about, it is in the description of this show of Naturally Empowered Living. And it's also, I'll share it in this specific episode show notes. But this form is for you to fill out with something, anything that you're struggling with, anything that you desire to have within your life, within motherhood. It's completely open-ended. It's no prompts. It's essentially just, what do you want to hear on the show? But I want to hear it from your perspective. Like, what are you struggling with? What do you want to find joy in? What are your desires? And I'll create an episode around it. And it makes me so excited. So I'm going to move my microphone back a little bit because I'm just really excited. I'm like taking in these deep breaths because I'm talking so fast and I don't know. You'll probably be able to hear me taking in these deep breaths. So let's just take a breath together. I'm just so excited to be back. Okay, so the first write-in was very short, very punchy, and that is okay. You share as much or as little as you want, but the shorter it is, I take it the route that I'm feeling led. So I hope that this resonates. But the write-in itself was about finding support within just feeling like she was the only mom that ever got frustrated, the only mom that ever felt overwhelmed with her kids, and she just wants support in, I don't know if it's finding solidarity, if it's support in overcoming, but it's really just about feeling alone in those frustrated moments and those overwhelmed moments and with the kids and like, whew. Again, another deep breath because let's have this episode be all about solidarity because I wonder how many of us think about this. I wonder how many of us feel this way. I wonder how many of us are like nodding their heads right now, like frustration, overwhelm. Like when are we not, like if we get through a day without it, right? And if you do this, that's amazing. Like tell me your tricks, write that in, right? But because I know that I've felt like stuck in this, well, especially this spiral of feeling that I have to be perfect, like that, like I have to know it all and do it all and never have a slip up because I mentor on this, right? Like I mentor on the peace, the sovereignty stuff, So if I'm, getting overwhelmed and frustrated with my kids, like I'm not doing that job as the mentor, with who I'm working with or whatever, with this show or whatever that craziness is, because it's not true, right? Like we are not perfect. We are human beings and this is our human experience. So I feel you. I am right there with you. And please know that you are never alone. Like you feel like you have your shit figured out or like, oh my gosh, we got through this season and like I feel like my child has overcome that phase or what have you and like we're good. And then next week it starts all over again with another development that they're in, or maybe something happened at school, or maybe there's just a transition or change or something going on, that this is like an ever flowing ebbs and flows process, right? So I do, for the sake of this show, it really is that solidarity piece. Let's just take a second, like to believe and just embrace, like, we are never alone. And please, 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 if you feel you are, to find a support system, reach out to me, reach out to a loved one. Like, you are never alone in life. Like, and I'm going to keep this, based on motherhood and kids and about this write-in, but it's just so true that we can get so lonely and so stuck within our own heads, and that just can easily spiral out of control. And I just want that to be a healthy reminder that you are never alone, whatever you are going through. And that if you feel you don't have the support, find it within me, because I am here, and I fully believe, like, we can get through anything. And just that power of belief and faith and hope, and knowing, like, other people go through it too. I have to remind myself of that also. Like, I'm never alone in whatever I'm struggling with, because sometimes it feels like we are. And if you just feel so confined within your life or whatever that is, to kind of allow yourself to broaden that perspective, to zoom out a little bit into the bigger picture. Okay. So let's dissect a little bit of this submission here with the frustration, with the overwhelm. And I'll give my own consent here to use me again as examples as they arise. And some things too, I'll just pull in from just experiences that I've gone through, or what maybe I've worked with in the past, or that I see, like, just within society or whatever. So you'll get an unedited, raw version of sometimes what goes on inside my head too. Okay. So first and foremost, like, getting frustrated with kids. It's not easy to stay calm 100% of the time. Like, can we all agree with that? Like, our kids aren't listening. You repeated yourself 10 times. The sibling rivalry just won't stop. The bickering is never ending. The talking back is nonstop. The personal space is non-existent. Like, the list goes on, right? We're human. We are human. We get frustrated because maybe our needs are not met. Maybe we're tired. Maybe we're hungry. Like, the same reasons why your kids have tantrums might be the same reasons why you, like, call it an adult tantrum, right? But we get frustrated also on that flip side, because they're not listening. And I get it. Like, oh my gosh, we just got back from a 2-week road trip, like, in the car in a confined space for 2 weeks. Like, I get it. We, like, all had our moments, right? So we're human, and we are on a constant evolution and growth journey through this human experience. So with awareness and intention, gosh, like, that's key in everything that we do. And what I mean by that, with awareness and intention, is being aware with your frustration in the first place. Because without awareness, you're going to continue to do the same things over and over and over, and you're going to get the same results. It's going to be the same cycle over and over and over until you bring the awareness to your frustrations. Like, step 1, you are aware that you are frustrated. That's a huge step. A lot of us don't even get that step, or we skip over it. So taking that step back, okay, I'm frustrated right now, right? And then why? Why am I frustrated? And then possibly you could flip it to their perspective, your kid's perspective of acting a certain way they're acting, or whatever kind of that scenario might be. And then you can make a conscious action in moving forward. So for me, like, do I strive to be a conscious parent? Of course. Like, I don't really know what gentle parenting is, conscious parenting. I don't know. But, like, do I want to be a conscious, aware, like, their present parent that is helping them mold them into becoming a conscious, aware, present adult, right? Like, of course we are. And am I aware when I lose my shit, or lose my patience, or when I yell? Absolutely. Do I apologize to my children? Yes, I do. Because we're all human. That is, like, the perfect spot for a learning, or just my son, he, like, rolls his eyes at me because it's like, oh, here we go again, another talk. But it's like, I don't know. These are all, I'm not a certified parenting coach or anything like that. But I mean, he sits there and listens, and then I see it, molded in him the next time that same thing happens. Like, it's a completely different response, because I know he's a little sponge. He's soaking in everything that's coming in. So do I apologize? Yes. Do I talk to my children about the situation, the scenario, why I'm apologizing? Of course. I've never been someone, and I'm guilty of it, but I don't like to do it, is saying, because I said so. Well, how are they going to learn? Like, I understand you are the authority, you are the parent, but saying something like, because I said so, isn't teaching anything. And you're going to have the same cycle happening over and over and over again until you create this learning environment of, I'm telling you no because, or I'm doing this because, right? Like, you could have the dessert, but you have to eat the healthy food too, right? So I don't know. I feel like there's a power trip sometimes, and the sense of like, children are still human and we are the example to help them mold, into the adults that we aspire, them to be, or that we aspire ourselves to be, right? Like, how many times have you heard, like, you get to re-parent yourself when you are a parent? Because it's so true. The perspectives are just, they're like, for me, I'm just like light bulb, aha moments, because it's just so profound. So we are human. I do all this. I apologize. I talk to them about it after, once we've calmed down, because we're human. My goal is to help them, mold their perspectives about life and human interactions themselves. And when I talk to them, depending on the situation, I also share a lot of the times that it's not their fault that I get frustrated. It's something within me that was triggered. And maybe, the reason that I do this is, like, I share that with them. I really make a conscious effort to share with them, like, when we're talking about it later on, of course, like, I'm not apologizing for getting frustrated. I'm not apologizing that I felt the way that I felt or whatever it is. I'm making it known that it was not their fault because of it. We talk about the situation. We talk about how, if they weren't listening or whatever it is, like, of course, there's boundaries. There is authority. There is ways to act, right? We know the right from wrong, and we're teaching them right from wrong, right? But it's like that fine line, right? And I really take that emotional route of building that emotional resilience of, it's not their fault that I got frustrated, because 10 years from now, when they tell someone no, and that person might get mad at them, just like, I'm telling my child no and they're getting mad at me. I don't want my child 10 years from now, when they tell someone no and someone gets mad at them, I do not want them to take back their power of no for whatever reason. If they felt uncomfortable, if they felt, their boundaries were pressed, whatever reason, I don't want them to feel that they have to take back their power of no because they don't want to hurt someone else's feelings. Like, that is so profound to me. And again, I'm not perfect in this. Like, I hope that kind of helps with a little perspective. I'm not saying that it's wrong of you to get frustrated. I feel that it's so healthy to share emotions, right? And we're both able to adapt and respond and evolve together through this crazy chaos of a parenting, of journey and their growing up journey, right? So now, if it's a not listening thing, or maybe you've said like 10 times it's time to go, and now you yell to put your shoes on because they didn't listen the first 9 times, I do still apologize for yelling, because I feel a boundary can still be set without raising your voice. However, again, like, we're human, and I yell. Like, I feel like I have my normal voice, I have my stern mom voice, I have my yelling voice. Like, I have different levels, right? And like Jace will say, like, oh, mama bear's coming out, and it's like, yes. So again, I'm not a parenting coach. I go through like the thoughts in my mind all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm stuck in this cycle, or why do we have the same, like, am I messing my kids up because I'm doing it this way? Should I be doing it this way? Should I look into conscious parenting? Should I look into gentle parenting? Oh my gosh, I've spanked my child before. Oh my gosh, what is that doing? Am I promoting hitting? Because hitting versus, I get it. Like, I get stuck in my head so much about doing things perfect, and there is no perfect way. And what I constantly come back to telling myself is, I am showing my children love. I am doing my best, and I'm aware of my mess ups and my slip ups, and I'm doing intentional work for me to get better too, right? And I'm always like, I'm always trying to zoom out. I'm always trying to, okay, how can this help them, 10 years from now or when they're an adult themselves? So I really feel that with the awareness and the intention behind your actions, and obviously the love that you have for your children, like you can't be a bad mom, right? So, okay, going back a little bit, going back to, the not listening thing, and what I said with, I still feel that a boundary can be set without raising your voice. I do. But I feel that boundaries can be set without yelling, without spanking, without, I firmly believe that. So I also know that children can push you and walk that line because they're learning. They're learning their boundaries. They feel it that they're invincible. I don't know how many times my mother told me that throughout my life. You feel that you're invincible and like those things that get ingrained into your mind. Like a 5-year-old, because that's where I'm at right now. My oldest is 5. Like they feel that they know it all, but then when they get stuck or like hardship arises, then it's like they go back to being like a baby and they don't know what they're doing at all. And then the tears come, then the tantrums come. So like it is our job to be that safe space, to be that regulation for them. I personally don't think that children can manipulate you any more than adults can manipulate you. Again, it's part of the human experience. Like if you know that you can get away with something, if you could get away with something at work, or by like being, let's say, consistently 5 minutes late every single day because quote unquote your boss doesn't care, is that right or wrong? But you're doing it anyway, right? Like think about it. Like that, it's that manipulation piece of, being there on time versus being 5 minutes late because, oh, it's no big deal, right? Same thing with your kids. Well, she doesn't yell until it's the 10th time, so I may as well just kind of push that line a little bit, and she doesn't care until it's the 10th time, right? So really focusing on setting that boundary the first time, and you doing that work to getting to that point of saying it once and having that response coming. All right. Kids are human too. And it's within our example, how we're reacting, interacting, and acting ourselves that our children are raised in that environment to then, respond, react, and interact themselves as they're growing up. So I don't want this to be like a talking at you thing. Everything that I'm saying, by God, like I'm telling myself that in my head, in prayer, in meditation all the time. So it's not like it's like this easy, one and done, I got it, type thing. I just hope that kind of gives you a little bit of a perspective shift. And, here's like a little example, like when you're frustrated for whatever reason, okay, try this the next time that you get frustrated. Stop. You could do this with or without your kids. Like intentionally just stop, right? If they're yelling, if they're screaming, whatever it might be, just you stop. Allow yourself to take this fiber, again, with or without your kids, and connect. Take deep breaths, put your hands on your heart, put your hands anywhere on your body to just physically like feel and get in tune with yourself, okay? This is that first step of like regulating your nervous system, right? If you're getting frustrated. And then identify, okay, why am I frustrated? Maybe, I've repeated myself 10 times to get their shoes on, and then I yelled, and now we have tears, and everyone's upset and yelling. Okay, you identified. There's like no judgment in any of this, but you identified why you're frustrated. Next, you could get to the root of why you're frustrated. Why is that internally? Not that they're not listening. We know that, right? Like that's the surface level. That's almost in the identify phase. Now we're getting to the root of why you got frustrated. What was it that triggered you to get frustrated? Maybe because you yelled and you know that yelling isn't always the answer because it disconnects you from your kids. Sometimes I feel like they're already yelling and getting to that, like the volume above them, it's inevitable sometimes. But again, like, does it solve anything, right? So it might give you that immediate response or reaction, let it be good or bad. Now they're crying, but they put their shoes on, right? It doesn't necessarily change long-term to help them listen for the next time. Because what did I just say? Oh, well, they know that, mom doesn't get mad till the 10th time, right? So getting to that root of why, really kind of like replaying that scenario within your head to then implement and repair within yourself and or with your kids for the next time. like having that sit down conversation of why, or getting to start, to implement that boundary that you're going to set. Like, your kids think that they have until the 10th time before you're actually now the flip switch and now you're pissed. So really kind of working with that, really getting into the root, getting inside, connected to yourself to be able to then, implement and take action and repair within yourself and or with your kids. So this is actually 4 steps of my 7-step process that I do walk my clients through. And I swear it works in any season of life with anything. Like, I pulled this, I was writing kind of some notes down, and it just naturally, flowed into this 7-step process. And I was like, oh, I wasn't really even expecting to go here. And the other 3 steps of that 7-step process, they're very customized and interactive, when I'm like in a one-on-one or mentorship or something like that, that usually implements, let's say, meditation or an energy release session, and coming soon, like root cause therapy sessions that I cannot wait to start molding into my now sessions that I have, because root cause work, without even knowing like I could be certified in it, I was doing it. Like, it's just been mind-blowing. It's been wonderful. So really, just anything to take away is the awareness, the intention, identifying, getting to the root, implementing, repairing, right? For the next time. So you're not going through the same cycle over and over and over again. You can break these cycles. So now moving on to the second part of the submission was getting overwhelmed with kids. Everything I said, within frustration really resonates to overwhelm also. However, one thing that I want to add is it overstimulation? Overstimulation is, like, I don't want to speak for you, but when I started getting to the root for me, because overstimulation was a root for a lot of lash outs that I would have. And when I got to the root of it, it's like, oh, I'm overstimulated. And, when now, like, I'm again coming back to the awareness, it's like, okay, now we could get somewhere. Like now, I know I have some tools, some resources to really work with this now, because maybe the TV was on. Multiple people are talking to you at the same time, asking for different things at the same time. Maybe you're trying to get dinner on the table, and then, your mind is racing with everything that you still have to do for the day. Oh my gosh, the dog starts barking. Now my phone rings. Like, literally all these things can be happening simultaneously. And they typically do, right? Like around that dinner, bath, bedtime rally, like, oh my gosh, it's a lot. But like, insert that any time of the day, right? And what do we expect? Like, do we expect to have it all taken care of seamlessly? Like, no, that's not real. It's not realistic. So, as I know, there wasn't a lot of context with this submission, and that's okay. Like, it totally gives me that free range to, okay, like, where do I feel called to take this conversation? I hope that this resonates. I hope that, if the submission, whoever, submitted this, I hope it's on the same page with kind of where you're at. I would love for you to email me, hello@naturalempoweredliving.com, to let me know within more detail if I could relate something or make something a little more easier to digest, or something more specific to you. But yeah, I just wanted to share that little tidbit. But for me, a lot of times when I am overwhelmed, overstimulation has a lot to do with it. And think about it. If I, a 34-year-old adult, am overstimulated, what do you think my kids are? Like, it's so simple when we break it down, but it's so not easy, like, to live it out, right? Especially in a society that condones screens and, this trend, and you got to do this and have that toy, and, doing everything all the time and living in this rat race on a hamster wheel. It's a lot. And I do want to note, like, okay, we just got back from, our road trip. My children lived on their tablets in the car. So I'm not here saying like, we're a no screens family and screens are terrible. But something that I really strive to be is hella aware when it comes to a little too much. And maybe we need to connect back to reality a little bit, and accept the power of just being. Like, I loved when my kids say, I'm bored. I'm like, amazing. Like, let's just be here. Like, hell yes. All right. So that's really something that I also try to, help my kids with, is that we live in a world that's always online. It's so busy. It's so fast, so fast. And I do feel like a lot of us are waking up to like wanting to slow down. And I don't have all the right answers, like screens, yay or nay. However, like within that situation, like I'm taking a little bit of a middle ground because I am hella aware of like where our society is right now, like where our world is right now. So I'm just taking the middle ground of like moderation here and really just trying to teach my children awareness around it all. So circling back to like overwhelm, overstimulation, I give the same advice, like get to the root of why you are feeling this overwhelmed feeling. Because it's inevitable. We all are going to feel that. We're all going to feel frustrated. We're all going to feel overwhelmed. But once you have that awareness, then you can work on, overcoming or working through. Like, do you need a break? Do you need a fiver? Do you need silence? Do you need them to like just to play with themselves for once, right? Like, what do you need? And slowly, this isn't an overnight thing, but you could start implementing. Once you take that time to get aware and actually like pinpoint, I feel like we skip that step again because everything's so fast and now. When we slow down enough to kind of connect back to ourselves, then you can start implementing and making those little changes or making that adjustment or having that conversation. And like, this is beautiful. All this can be done with your kids because everything you do and everything you share, everything you act on, it's teaching them how they're going to respond and live and act within the world. It's so beautiful. And we're not perfect. And I always tell my husband, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to F my kids up because I'm like, I'm so in my head all the time. Or, I'm this, I'm that, I'm not perfect. But I feel like when we're open and transparent with our kids, like that we're not perfect, I feel like that breaks down a little bit of, walls with them that they don't have to strive to be perfect too. And that, okay, I do have big emotions. Let's work through this. So I hope that helps. I hope that I wasn't expecting to talk for this long, but if there is anything, that you're needing, I love to create podcast episodes around that. Like, what are you struggling with right now? What is your greatest desire right now in life and motherhood? What do you want to hear on this show? I will link the submission form for just that, for you to fill out, for me to share on the Naturally Empowered Living podcast. This was so exciting. I love to get like this topic sent to me. And I was like, oh, yay, here we go. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Until next week, as always, simply be you. You have everything inside of you, mama, to learn your energy of alignment and be unapologetic in who you are. I'm sending my love and so much light.
Did you find this episode relatable or empowering? Peace with Mama Vavio.
Thank you for spending this sacred time with me on Naturally Empowered Living. I pray this episode has brought you a step closer to tuning into your energy of alignment. And if it has, please consider leaving a written review sharing how this show has impacted you. Your feedback truly lights me up and helps other moms find their way to this community. And if it feels right, please share this episode with another mom who might be struggling to remind her that she's never alone. Be sure to check the show notes for more ways to connect and explore how we could work together to reclaim your power and deepen your relationship within. Thank you. I appreciate all you are and all you do.